Hello everybody, welcome back once again. As always, I am Jay, somebody who transforms into someone far less interesting. Once again, taking a look at the Energon universe, this time with issue 5 of the Transformers. So, a little late on this one again, I apologize. I was on vacation, so I didn't get really a chance to record. So, gonna have a two-parter for this one. I'm gonna do Transformers and then follow up a little later with Cobra Commander 2. So, getting right into it, nothing new to really report. As always, previously on the Transformers. After a battle in the local town results in Spike being gravely injured, the Autobots rush Spike to the hospital in order to save his life. Unfortunately, the Decepticons are close by, and Starscream manages to knock out power to the hospital, nearly killing everybody inside. But thanks to some timely reinforcements from Ratchet and Jazz, the Decepticons are defeated and driven off, and Optimus uses the power of the Matrix to restore power to the hospital and save Spike's life. As the Decepticons turn to cannibalizing their fallen comrades for resources, Optimus and Sparky make a plan to keep the Autobots in a stable supply of energy. And the issue ends with Optimus rousing his fellow Autobots to go on the offensive, replacing his previously damaged arm with Megatron's fusion cannon. So as always from here, a quick recap of the issue. The issue opens up with Sparky and Optimus swapping war stories, bonding over their shared torment of the horrors of war. Meanwhile, Decepticon cannibalism has turned out for the better once again, and Skywarp's necessary sacrifice has restored life to Thundercracker, Frenzy, and Reflector. But their jovial reunion is cut short when the Decepticons find out the Autobots have salvaged their tech and begin stealing the power they were trying to steal. They fly off to, once again, try and kick the collective asses of the Autobots. We see that the Autobots, thanks to a partially revived Wheeljack, have used SEG technology to build a makeshift water turbine, one far more advanced than human technology could build, and they use its power to restore Jazz to full energy as well as RC. Fortunately, there's not much more time for reunions here as well, as the Decepticons immediately come to attack. Sadly, Decepticon reinforcements ended up not mattering, as thanks to Optimus's power boost from Megatron's fusion cannon, he immediately one-shots both Frenzy and Reflector, and the fight immediately turns the Autobots' favor. Starscream attempts a nice little one-on-one with Optimus once again, but all he gets for it is a nice big hole caved in his chest, and the Decepticons, as usual, retreat. The freshly restored Autobots, alongside Carly and Sparky, rush off to the Ark in order to finally end the Decepticon menace once and for all. But unfortunately, as they discover, Starscream had one little trick up his sleeve, and the issue ends with the arrival of the Constructicons, who immediately form Devastator and begin their attack as the issue ends. So once again, this one is more action than it is story, but I don't necessarily mind, and I really did like this issue too. First and foremost, the heart-to-heart scene with Sparky and Optimus at the beginning is really good. It's actually really short, and it uses very little dialogue, but the way they frame it is that it's a one panel of Sparky and Optimus, and it's mirroring their experiences in the war. It honestly really shows just how good of a writer Johnson is, that he doesn't even really need that much dialogue to show both the shared emotion between the two and just kind of like the overall character of Optimus is that he puts up a very brave front, but he's definitely traumatized at this point. He's definitely still, like, no matter how many victories they get, he's still, like, miserable over just being in war in general, and it's really great. It's a really good interpretation of Optimus. It's not exactly an original one. It's somewhat common, but that's not a bad thing. I really do like that. I like that kind of dichotomy they're setting up between Optimus and Sparky here. I think, honestly, he seems like a really interesting character. I hope Sparky stays along for the long haul of the series. Beyond that, again, it is mostly action in this one. As always, it is consistently violent. We get some miniature ones with Starscream fucking punting Ravage while they're on the Ark, which is just a nice little bit of dickery from Starscream. I like that they're committed to making him just the most absolutely awful person on the fucking planet right now. It's great. I thought bringing Frenzy and Reflector back were interesting choices. They tend to not really appear all that much. I mean, Frenzy usually shows up alongside Rumble, but him as like an individual really gets very minimal spotlight. Though I don't necessarily want to say it's a waste that they get immediately killed. I mean, obviously they're probably gonna come back at some point, but I mean, I don't know. Reflector gets straight up disintegrated, and Frenzy gets his fucking face caved in half when Optimus grabs him by the leg and throws him. So I don't know. I don't think they're coming back from that. But who knows? I've seen people come back from weirder in this franchise. So again, it's mostly action. We get a nice little spread of different things. RC has a nice real introduction where it seems like they're setting up her and Ratchet as being a thing again, which is interesting. They did that in animated, and they didn't really get a whole lot of time to really do anything with it, but I kind of liked that idea. And we get this nice scene where Carly's on the dam. They're fighting on the dam with the water turbine. And Carly falls off the edge, and RC transforms and rides up the wall of the dam and swings around and grabs Carly as she's falling in her car mode, which is really cool. It's really interesting. And it's a nice shot, too, where we get this top-down view of RC on the side, halfway up the wall as Carly's falling and catches her. It's a really good shot. It's really good. The dialogue is consistently great in this. Very minimal banter, which is fine. It keeps a very consistent tone, but there's some levity here. Like, we get a bit where Jazz and Cliffjumper are standing back-to-back fighting the Decepticons, and Jazz makes a music reference, and Cliffjumper's just like, I don't understand that reference, but okay. It's fine. It's cute. I'm fine with, like, little quips like that every now and then. Once it starts getting really heavy, it starts to get a little silly. But yeah, it's a little less violent, at least in terms of like the visceral stuff, but Optimus with the fusion cannon is surprisingly brutal, and it's really like, it kind of shows both how good of a fighter Optimus is and just like also sets up Megatron's power level well without really needing him be around, because he's consistently one-shotting like every single Decepticon he hits with it. Like Starscream, like I said, gets a huge chunk of him caved out. Reflector is just immediately killed and disintegrated, like I said. He's carving a pretty consistent warpath through this book. So it's good. I really like it. Again, the art is really consistently good. A lot of nice different colors. It's a lot of heavy reds and blues in this one, just because there's a lot of violence, a lot of explosion there too, which is good. I like that it's got a very strong, very striking color palette in this one too. Lots of very small, kind of unusual panel layouts too, which is really nice. It kind of helps tell the flow of the story. Like the more static ones are kind of larger panels with a lot of dialogue, but then the action tends to be very abnormal shapes, abnormal ratios, and that kind of really helps direct the flow of the action, and I really do enjoy that. Again, we also get a nice little character moment with both the Decepticons when Reflector and Frenzy are revived, where they're just kind of like Starscream immediately starts shutting them down and trying to like clearly take control, because clearly, obviously, everybody else is expecting Megatron to be around, and he's very much trying to establish himself as top dog still, no matter what, which is very cool. And just there's also a scene near the end where Carly, they're trying to leave her behind, but they're able to she tries to argue her position. She's like, I've lost everything at this point. I might as well go along. And Optimus says no, but she sneaks along anyways, which is nice. I expected that to happen anyways. It's good. The ending is very abrupt with the arrival of Devastator. I think bringing in Devastator this early is, I don't want to say questionable. I mean, I kind of expected, because this is going to be the end of the big first arc is the next issue, so bringing in Devastator at this point makes sense. But I don't know, it does feel like they're kind of, I don't want to say blowing their load a little early, that's a little vulgar, but it's kind of the same thing that happened with that Platinum game, Devastation, where Devastator was like the first real boss, and then after that the game just kind of like meanders around for a little while until they get to the end game, so I don't know. But But the actual introduction of Devastator is really good, where we get this immediate hard cut right to Optimus getting sideswiped by Long Haul, and it's this really brutal scene where we see Optimus like physically caving in half, and Long Haul is like 3 times his size, which is a nice little attention to detail, just scale-wise. And the entire panel itself is fucking great because it just has this big fucking splash of text that says heavy metal on it, which is so good. It's so good. It's a little cheesy, to be fair, but just the introduction of the Constructicons and Devastator here is just such a fucking great visual. Very abrupt. There's no foreshadowing that Devastator is coming in at this point, too. But up until these 2 pages here at the end, there's zero foreshadowing that the Constructicons were even on the arc at this point. So it's really good. I really like that. And just like the way they immediately one-shot all of the Autobots at the end of the issue is so good. It really sets up their power. That is, I'm sure, is going to get them nerfed to hell and fucking back in this series, as they tend to do. But that's fine. That's fair. You know, that's expected, where, you know, they're going to set them up as an early threat, and I'm sure as the series goes on and more characters are introduced, the power levels are going to get scaled out of whack. So it's fair, but as it is, it's a very good introduction. Beyond that, not a whole lot really to say in this issue. I've kind of said everything I want to say. Everybody's got a nice little character moment, at least once. One panel each. Everybody has some nice moments. Starscream is continuously the biggest dick on the planet. Optimus is still really good. We don't get a whole lot of an introduction to RC, which is fine. I mean, everything kind of immediately jumps into it. But I kind of like it. I like RC as a character most of the time. I mean, this might be somewhat controversial, but I did end up kind of liking IDW RC. I liked Psycho Murder Machine RC, even though they get a little weird with it near the end, where like they were trying to change her a little bit, but then like weren't changing her, and there was some weird inconsistencies there. But I kind of like her as like that asocial, snarky kind of like psycho bitch, which I don't think they're going to be setting up here. I think that's fine though. To be fair, honestly, even in the original cartoon, RC is kind of like a character vacuum. She doesn't really have a character. So there's a lot of space to really build her up in this, and I think that's going to be interesting. I'm liking the cast so far. I wish Wheeljack had a little bit more time in this. He's in like 2 pages. I mean, granted, he's only half rebuilt, so it's fair that he's not doing anything, but I like Wheeljack, so I don't know, I'm biased. Other than that, strong issue. I think this is the first time we're really talking about the covers. I really do like this cover, issue 5's cover, where we get this shot of Optimus reaching down to Megatron's fusion cannon, and you see his reflection in it, and he's surprised. He's got kind of like a surprised look. I mean, obviously you can't really see his like mouth, so it's hard to tell, but like Megatron's fusion cannon is on this giant pile of discarded guns and ammo boxes and everything, and it's a very interesting way that kind of sets up the horror of war angle they're going with Optimus and Spark, because it's a lot of like human machine guns and like M16s, and I mean they're all kind of indistinct, but they're like Earth weaponry, and it's Megatron's fusion cannon resting on it, which is a nice kind of symbolic gesture. I like that. So overall, another really solid issue. Next one is the end of the first arc, and we're getting a new artist after that. I forget the name. I haven't seen, actually, their art yet. I think they did a cover or 2 so far, but I don't know. I'm going to miss Johnson's art. It's really fucking good, but it set a high bar for the series, and if the series... I mean, he's still going to be writing as far as I'm aware. I think he's staying on for the long haul. But you know what? I don't want to say his art like has carried the book or anything. His writing overall and just overall direction has been solid. So even with a different artist, I'm sure it's going to keep up the same level of quality. So other than that, I've got nothing else to say. As always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next issue.